Imagine a boy who once dreamed of being a rock star. Not an actor, not a Hollywood legend, just a kid with a guitar trying to escape the noise of a broken home. Now imagine that same boy growing up to become one of the most mysterious, unpredictable, and magnetic stars the world has ever seen. This is the story of Johnny Depp. But wait, before we dive in, if you love stories that feel like movies, full of twists, triumphs, and secrets the world rarely hears, make sure you subscribe right now. Because what you're about to hear is a journey so unexpected you won't want to miss a second. Johnny Depp was born in Owensboro, Kentucky in 1963. His childhood? Far from glamorous. His family moved constantly, over 20 times before he turned 15. Imagine that, packing up your life over and over, never staying long enough to feel settled. That kind of instability shapes you. It makes you restless. It makes you search for an escape. For Johnny, escape came in the form of music. A guitar was his lifeline. He'd lock himself in his room, strumming until his fingers ached, drowning out the fights, the noise, the pain of a childhood filled with uncertainty. Music wasn't just a hobby, it was survival. By 15, he dropped out of school to chase the dream of being a rock musician. His band, The Kids, gained local fame. They were good, really good. But fame didn't come fast enough. And money? Scarce. Johnny found himself selling pens over the phone just to survive. Yes, the man who would one day play Captain Jack Sparrow was once a telemarketer, begging strangers to buy cheap ballpoint pens. And yet, life had a twist waiting. A twist that would change everything. It happened when Nicolas Cage, yes, the famous actor, spotted Johnny's potential. Cage saw something different in the struggling musician, something magnetic. He pushed him toward acting. Johnny resisted at first. He wanted to be a rock star, not a movie star. But Cage insisted. "Try acting," he said. "You've got something rare." Johnny listened. And in 1984, he landed his very first role. Just one scene. A teenager sucked into a nightmare in Wes Craven's horror classic, A Nightmare on Elm Street. And with that terrifying scream, Johnny Depp's Hollywood journey began. But here's the hook. Johnny wasn't destined to be a typical leading man. He hated the idea of being a cookie-cutter heartthrob. He wanted something darker, stranger, more dangerous. And that desire would both make him and almost break him. Johnny Depp's big break came in 1987 when he was cast in the TV series 21 Jump Street. Overnight, he became a teen idol. Posters of his face covered bedroom walls across America. Girls screamed his name. Producers called him the next big thing. But here's the twist. Johnny hated it. He despised being labeled a pretty boy. He didn't want fame for his looks. He wanted roles that challenged him, characters that were raw, broken, strange. To him, 21 Jump Street felt like a golden cage. Fame had found him, but it wasn't the kind he wanted. Still, the show made him a star. And with that fame, doors opened. But instead of chasing blockbusters, Johnny took a left turn. He sought out odd, risky roles. And then fate brought him to the man who would become his creative soulmate, Tim Burton. Their first collaboration? Edward Scissorhands in 1990. A silent, pale, lonely figure with blades instead of hands. Hollywood thought it was a gamble. But when Depp stepped into that role, something magical happened. He wasn't acting, he was becoming. Every twitch, every haunted glance, every unspoken word made audiences feel his pain. The film didn't just make him a star, it cemented him as an artist. Here's a hidden gem for you. Johnny Depp admitted he barely spoke during filming because he wanted Edward's silence to scream louder than any dialogue. That silence became iconic. From there, the Depp-Burton duo turned into legend. Ed Wood, Sleepy Hollow, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Corpse Bride, and of course, Sweeney Todd. Each role stranger than the last. Each performance pushing him further away from the safe, predictable Hollywood mold. But while he built this reputation as a fearless actor, real life wasn't so simple. Johnny struggled with fame. Paparazzi followed him everywhere. His relationships were under constant fire. He was misunderstood, criticized, labeled as Hollywood's rebel. But perhaps the truth was simpler. Johnny was searching for something real in an industry full of masks. And yet, just when people thought he was too weird to ever lead a blockbuster, he shocked the world.
In 2003, he stepped into the boots of a rum-soaked pirate with gold teeth, dreadlocks, and a swagger no one had ever seen before. Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl, was expected to be a simple Disney adventure. Instead, Johnny Depp turned it into a cultural phenomenon. Captain Jack Sparrow wasn't just a role, it was an explosion. Kids dressed like him, adults quoted him. The world fell in love with a drunken trickster who blurred the line between madness and genius. But here's the surprising fact. Disney executives originally hated Depp's performance. They thought he was acting drunk, bizarre, and even asked if he needed subtitles. Johnny didn't care. He trusted his instincts. And those instincts turned Pirates into a billion-dollar franchise, making him one of the highest-paid actors in Hollywood. Still, every triumph carried a shadow. Fame brought fortune, but fortune brought scrutiny, and Johnny's life was about to enter its most turbulent storm yet. By the mid-2000s, Johnny Depp was untouchable. Blockbusters, awards, a paycheck of over $50 million per film. He wasn't just an actor anymore. He was Hollywood's ultimate wild card. Studios trusted him to turn eccentric characters into global icons. Fans adored him for being unpredictable. But behind the scenes, the glitter of success was hiding cracks.
Johnny had always been a man of extremes. He loved hard, lived hard, took risks that other actors avoided. And with fame came temptation. Alcohol, late nights, a whirlwind lifestyle that kept him teetering between brilliance and chaos. In 2010, he was named the sexiest man alive. He had more money than he could ever spend, but he also had enemies circling. Hollywood is quick to crown kings and even quicker to burn them down. Then came lawsuits, endless lawsuits. Financial managers accused him of reckless spending. Headlines screamed about his extravagant lifestyle, $30,000 a month on wine, private islands, yachts, and entire staff teams. Some believed it, some defended him. But the image of Johnny Depp, the untouchable legend, started to blur. And then came the most public storm of his life. The world watched as his personal relationships turned into courtroom battles, his name dragged through tabloids, accusations flying like arrows. Hollywood, once his kingdom, seemed ready to exile him. Here's a hidden gem most people don't know. During this chaos, Johnny spent hours drawing and painting in solitude. Art became his therapy. While the world shouted, he found silence in colors and lines. But imagine being Johnny, once adored, now doubted, once a hero, now branded a villain. The same studios that begged for him suddenly turned their backs. He lost roles, lost credibility, even lost Captain Jack Sparrow, the very character that had defined an era.
It was a fall so steep, many believed he would never climb back. And yet, something in Johnny refused to die. Because this is where the story takes its sharpest turn. The boy who once used a guitar to escape pain would now use resilience to fight for his truth. He wasn't done. Not yet. When the storm of accusations and trials seemed to bury Johnny Depp, many thought his career was over. Hollywood had already chosen its verdict. Studios cut ties. Brands distanced themselves. His name, once synonymous with magic and mystery, was now splashed across headlines with words like controversy, lawsuit, and scandal. But Johnny Depp has never been the kind of man to follow the script others write for him. He thrives in chaos. He transforms pain into performance. And just when the world thought he had vanished into shadows, he rose again, this time not on the big screen, but in real life. The courtroom became his stage. The world tuned in, millions watching every word, every glance, every expression. What should have been his darkest hour turned into a global event. And as evidence unfolded, something shifted. Doubt turned to sympathy. Hate turned to support. Memes flooded the internet. Hashtags trended. For the first time in years, Johnny Depp wasn't just surviving, he was winning hearts again.
Here's a surprising hidden gem. During the trial, sales of his old movies skyrocketed. Even Pirates of the Caribbean streams spiked worldwide, proving fans had never truly abandoned him. And then came the music. While Hollywood debated his fate, Johnny found freedom on stage, guitar in hand, alongside legendary musician Jeff Beck. For him, music wasn't about fame anymore. It was about healing. Standing in front of thousands of fans, strumming those strings, Johnny seemed to reclaim the dream he once had as a teenager, to live as a rock star. But his comeback didn't stop there. In 2023, he returned to cinema with Jean de Bury, premiering at the Cannes Film Festival. When he walked the red carpet, tears filled his eyes as the audience erupted into a 7-minute standing ovation. Imagine that. A man once labeled finished, now being celebrated as an artist reborn. And here's another gem you'll love. Johnny Depp was so moved by the ovation at Cannes that he later admitted it felt like breathing again after drowning for years. Slowly, the narrative shifted from fallen star to survivor, from scandal to redemption. And whether Hollywood fully accepts him back or not, one thing is clear. Johnny Depp is no longer chasing approval. He's writing his own story, his own way. But the question remains, after everything he's been through, what comes next? Johnny Depp's life has never followed a straight line. From a boy in Kentucky clinging to his guitar, to a reluctant teen idol, to a Hollywood rebel who became a pirate legend, his journey has not been short of cinematic. But the truth is, Johnny's story isn't finished, not even close.
Today, Depp is more than an actor. He's a musician, a painter, a storyteller. He's a man who has learned to live with scars and to turn those scars into art. When asked about the future, he doesn't talk about chasing blockbusters or breaking box office records. He talks about freedom, about creating what matters, about leaving behind a legacy that isn't defined by scandal, but by imagination. Here's a hidden gem that feels almost poetic. Johnny Depp has said he'd rather be remembered as a good father than a great actor. That's the kind of man he truly wants to be. His daughter, Lily Rose, is carving her own path in the world of film and fashion. His son Jack stays away from the spotlight. And Johnny? He beams with pride, knowing his greatest role isn't on screen, It's being a father. Yet fans can't help but wonder, will he ever return as Captain Jack Sparrow? Will we see him once again staggering across the deck, compass in hand, eyes gleaming with mischief? No one knows. Disney stays silent, Johnny too. But here's the hook. When asked if he'd ever play Jack again, Johnny once said, "Never say never." And with Johnny Depp, you learn quickly, anything is possible. Think about it. This is a man who was nearly erased from Hollywood, only to stand taller than ever. A man who has turned failure into fuel, pain into power, and darkness into light. And maybe that's why his story connects so deeply. Because it's not just about fame or fortune. It's about resilience. About fighting through storms. About refusing to be defined by the world's opinions.
Johnny Depp's life reminds us of something we often forget. Legends aren't perfect. Legends are messy, flawed, scarred, inhuman. But they rise anyway. They stumble, they break, they fall, but they rise. And in rising, they inspire millions to do the same. So as Johnny Depp continues his journey, whether on stage, on screen, or quietly painting in his studio, one thing is certain. His story isn't over. It's still being written. And something tells me the best chapters may be yet to come. Now, if you've been swept away by this cinematic journey through Johnny Depp's life, don't let it end here. Hit that subscribe button, drop your thoughts in the comments, tell me, what's your favorite Johnny Depp role? And share this with someone who needs to hear the story of a man who fell, who fought, and who rose again. Because like Captain Jack once said, not all treasure is silver and gold. And Johnny Depp, he is living proof of that.